Bendiciones, blessings to everyone. This podcast today is dedicated in honor of Mary Lenora G. Fong, who crossed over on Monday, December 27th, after the recording of this podcast. We offer this and dedicate this in her honor and to all of her family.
Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Tello, and you're joining the Healing Generations podcast today, in which we are here to really lift up the generations of blessings and medicines that all of us carry within our ancestral lineage. And at the same time, embrace and address the generational trauma and the present day issues that we're facing. We know that, this last couple of years have been challenging, but it has really given us the opportunity to reassess and to reflect on, really what is important in our lives, and to really dig deep to the medicine that is available, but the medicine that we need in our lives as well. And so I want to welcome you. I want to thank the Creator and acknowledge the ancestors of all people, of all ways, of all roots, and invite you to think about your ancestors, whether you know them by name and have met them, or whether they're just in your DNA and just in your spirit. And acknowledge them in whatever way you can, and invite them to sit with us, invite them to journey with us, to be with us today. We also want to acknowledge, where you're sitting, that land that you're sitting on. Acknowledge the ancestors there too. And maybe not just symbolically, but really bring their spirit here, because they may have some questions. They may have some guidance for us today too. We want to honor our relatives of the land in which we sit, and the blessings in which they've offered us, to be where we're at today. As we continue to journey on this path to bring healing and wellness to all people in that way. And I am so elated and just so happy today to have with us, to have with me, to journey with, to see right now, just someone that I love very much, a brother, a healer. I see him as a healing practitioner, a guide. He teaches so many people and gives so much, but really represents, and when I am with you, Kevin, I feel your ancestors. I feel your people. I feel the medicine and the blessings. And at the same time, I feel truth, because you bring truth that way. And who I'm talking about is Kevin Fong. And Kevin Fong, I've known him for a number of years, and I'm so blessed that we're on this path together, working together. But Kevin has done amazing work, not only here, but across the world. But I'm really blessed that we're doing some work together as well. But Kevin's doing some amazing work in guiding it and embracing a whole group of people. So I want to welcome you, Kevin, and give you the opportunity to welcome people.
Aloha mai kako, Maestro Jerry, and to all my family and friends out there, greetings to you all. I hope this moment provides a bit of respite and a bit of joy in your days, and you navigate through multiple crises and catastrophes. Just to know that we are with you, I am with you here. I bring you greetings from the traditional land of the Ramaytush Ohlone people, now known as the Mission District, San Francisco, California. I'm right here on 23rd and Hampshire Street. You can see San Francisco General right out my front window. And to you, Maestro, thanks for your patience and grace. You asked me to join you in this podcast probably about a year ago or so, and I kept putting you off and making excuses. But I have to say, you knew I was ready, but I didn't know I was ready. And you were patient enough to wait and give me the grace and compassion until this time you asked, and I said, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
and it's good to be here in your presence and company.
Thank you so much. And you bring that profound question of readiness. Because sometimes we don't feel ready, but our ancestors say, "Here you go. Come on this path. We gotta." We're going to send you on this journey. We're going to send you on this path, and because you got some important work to do, you got to represent, you got to reflect. The world needs a Kevin Fong. They need your teachings. They need, and when I say Kevin, I know I'm really speaking of a whole lineage, a whole people. So I wonder if you could share with us a little bit about you and your journey and your people and your lineage and that journey so far.
Sure thing. I'll start out with my bio family and then go out to my family of mentors, teachers, elders, youngers as well, who play such an important role in shaping and forming who I am. My name is Kevin Kahakula Akea John Fong. I am the proud child of Robert Wing Hing Fong and Mary L.G. Fong. Born and raised in Sacramento, California. I was born at Sutter Memorial Hospital,
Mm,
raised at 803 S Street, right downtown Sacramento, kind of in the hood, as they said. Um, my grandparents were all in the food business,
mm,
so we always had food on the table. My paternal grandparents had a poultry house. They raised chickens and ducks and a few pigs, and had a store. And Grandpa had a ranch out there. And on my mom's side, my grandparents owned a small grocery store. So that was my playground. That's where I learned how to read and write, sorting out soda crates and
mm.
soda bottles. I learned how to read 7 Up and count because me and my cousin got a dime for every soda crate that we sorted out and cleaned. It was sticky work back then. Um, but more importantly than that, I learned how to cook. And so with my grandmother, she would take us, and there were some 30, 35 people at the store who worked there. So she had to cook for a lot of folks. And so she would take us, and I was a toddler, and put me in the basket and walk down the aisles. And then, Uncle Eddie or Uncle Jim would be in the produce section, and she would just take the box that had all the rubbish produce, the stuff that was not going to make it on, for sale, and you didn't know what was in that box, but she just took that box and put it in there. Then she'd roll around to the butcher, and that's where Uncle Al was, and pick up the box of meat scraps and whatnot, and load that in, and just wheel us into the kitchen, which was about 10 by 10 feet, tiny little thing. Just fit the cart, had a little table over here, and the stove and the sink over here, and she would talk. Um, I would think she was talking to herself, but she was really talking to us,
Mm,
and take all these scraps and make an incredible meal
mm,
for 35 people. And I have to say, all my cousins, all my siblings, and me, we have this reputation where folks will say, I come over to your house, Jerry. You say, hey, let's go out. There's nothing in the fridge. And we don't got nothing to eat here.
mhm,
And I would say, hey, just give me a minute. Just give
mm,
me a minute. I'll open up the fridge, see what's in your pantry. I'll whip up a meal
mm,
that is unforgettably good.
mm,
And it's like, how did you do that? You made something out of nothing. It's like, that's my grandmother.
mm.
That's she is right there inside of me. That is a gift that I carry. And I am so blessed and fortunate to have grown up in this large, loving, crazy ass family, full of characters. And it allowed me to really understand that I could be uniquely me, but also be part of a community
Mm.
as well. It's that kind of unconditional sense of who I am. I'm also the youngest child in my own nuclear family. And so I didn't have to carry the weight and responsibility of being the oldest son or the next oldest son or the third oldest. I could do whatever I want.
Mm.
And I am blessed to be, to have that range and reign to explore and to be me. Um, my parents were also business owners. My dad started out in air conditioning and refrigeration, and then he went into as a general contractor for about 35 years. And so, with that, ingrained this whole notion that I could forge my own path in life. I could be my own boss.
Mm.
I never thought that I would spend the bulk of my career working for someone else. That just wasn't part of my DNA, part of my thinking. And so that allowed me to also understand that the 9 to 5 existence, that work with a capital W, could really be integrated into the whole of my being. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm really grateful.
You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking of, my family and my grandmother because, and I think, many people, that come from that sense of everything is worth something, everything is valuable. It can turn something that seems like scraps or seems like the leftovers and really turn it into, if you will, medicine or a blessing. And I see your grandmother doing that. But I'm also wondering how, from your cultural heritage, from your cultural background, what are the teachings that come from that give you those teachings? Because I know when I see you, I feel that vibration too. And it's like fish in water. Sometimes you don't even recognize it because it's just all around you, but we notice it, and we recognize that the blessing from your lineage and your cultural heritage too. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. The biggest gift that my elders gave me were my names.
Hmm.
It all started there. And they really embody what Hawaiians call kuleana, Kuleana, which means, in some ways, it means your duty or responsibility. I got 2 kids, so I could say, Raphael, your kuleana today is to wash dishes. Santi,
Hmm.
your kuleana is to take out the trash. But in its deeper level, it means, what is your gift? What is your unique contribution? What is that you were born to become? And so when people ask me what your kuleana are, I say, Maestro Jerry, what's your kuleana?
Hmm.
Or ask a young person, what's your kuleana? I'm really asking them, what are you born to become?
Hmm.
When you walk into the room, what do you bring?
Hmm.
Not your skill, but your gift. And my elders knew me well enough, even though I was, I was an infant, right? They knew me well enough to understand what my gift was,
Hmm.
and they named me for that gift. And so on my Chinese side, my Chinese name is Shi Tang, and Shi, spelled Xi, is it's a generational name, so all of my cousins and my siblings have that part of our name, she, so you can recognize that part of your generation. So my father's generation is Wing, right? We're she. And she means a scholar of, or one who studies. And so
Hmm.
we are all a scholar of and one who studies X, right? And my given name is Tang, Tang. And now Tang can, depending on, it's a tonal language, Chinese, right? So it takes different tones. It could mean a bunch of different things. Tang, in the way my name is pronounced, means soup, SOUP. So I am a scholar of and one who studies soup. Now, I told you I was the youngest, right? I'm
Yeah.
not only the youngest child in my family, but the youngest grandchild on that
Wow.
side. And so I got teased I mean, nicknames up, you know, and then my grandma gives me a name, Soup. It's like everybody else gets like Jade Emperor or, Warrior Princess and stuff. And I'm like, Grandma, come on. And so I was kind of pissed at my grandmother for 32 years at giving me this name Soup. And she died on her 102nd birthday.
Hmm.
And about 9 months later, my oldest son, Raphael, was born that same year. And, so here I am, adopted this kid. And right about that time, I was doing some facilitation gig, and it came to me that my grandmother knew my gift. And it is this. When you think about one who studies soup, you think about a community making soup. You bring together all these different ingredients and elements, right? So I'll say, what is your collective wisdom? What do you have to offer about this particular thing that we're addressing, this problem in our community or society? And some people say, I've been thinking about this and thinking about this and thinking about this, and I got this carrot that I've nurtured from the seed up, and here is my offering, Jerry,
Hmm.
right? Here it is. And someone else is like, yeah, my boss or my wife drugged me here, and I'm just sitting here with my arms crossed, my legs crossed. I'm going to give you this moldy ass carrot from the back of the fridge and see what you can do with this, Fong, right? Big ass facilitator you think you are. And so, um, what I'm able to do is take all the wisdom, all the ingredients that people have to offer, whatever it is, throw it in the center, stir it up with some fire and water, and turn it around so whatever I have to offer feeds and nurtures everybody, and there's leftovers to take home.
Mm.
That's what my grandmother saw in me, 32 years before I realized that and started to manifest that. And here I am 25 years later, I'm knocking on 60 years old here, and I'm still living my grandmother's prophecy.
Mm.
Um, my Hawaiian name is Kahakula Akea. And another just brilliant, my uncle Kaipo gave this to me, and just brilliant in terms of his prophecy of this. Haku means, ha means to breathe or take a breath, and ku means to stand up. So haku together means to take a breath and stand up.
Mm.
It also translates into a weaver or somebody who creates something, right? La Akea means two things: the sacred fire, and it also means the essential things in life. So when you put those two together, I am the weaver of the essential things in life,
Mm.
or the weaver of the sacred fire. And so you know this well enough, Jerry, that I've got a knack where if it's gig's supposed to end at 3 o'clock and it's 2:45 and things are just fraying and falling apart, I will call upon my name. I will call upon my ancestors and my
Mm.
lineage to say, I need some help. And somehow, some way, this person, Kevin, finds a way to weave it all together. So it magically creates, just infuse a little bit of fire, a little bit of warmth, a little bit of energy. So people are walking away feeling like, all right, we got this,
Mm.
right? Bring in a little bit of the essentials in life, whatever they need. Some hot tea, warm beaches, clean air, fresh water, a little bit of love and joy. So they can walk away feeling whole and healed. That's something that is way beyond my skill set. That is my gift,
Mm.
and that's what I offer.
Wow. There's already a weaving there in what you're talking about because, I saw the picture of your grandmother walking through and picking up the different kinds of carrots, the ones that are freshly grown and the ones that are wilting already, and the meat and all the other things, and putting them into that soup. And then names you for that, names you to continue her walk, to continue her journey. And then the other side that says, well, you must bring the fire and water. We must give you that too, so that you can cultivate and cook these elements, so that the weaving that ends up in the end is something that feeds everybody. And that's, and now that you're saying that, I, of course, that's exactly what you do. That's exactly who Kevin is. And without you explaining it to me, I felt that. I also recognize, because in my journey too, there's tough times, there's struggles, there's challenges. And I'm wondering if you could share a little bit with the audience about, what you learned in the journey, through the struggles, through the challenges, because presenting what you're presenting, sharing what you're sharing, is not something that Western society easily embraces. And we know about the inequities in terms of racism and discrimination and all of that. That having to. I mean, when I think about my mom also was a seamstress, and then it ended up owning a cleaners. And as a woman trying to have a business, as a Mexican woman trying to own the business, I mean, she couldn't even get a loan. They didn't even see her as that. So I know your family struggled with just living in this society, even if it was the Mission District. And as a child, I'm sure you saw that and dealt with that too. And I wonder if you can talk about some of those teachings, some of those lessons, some of those struggles, and what helped you navigate and get through those lessons, so that you were able to transform them into now medicine and the work you do.
It's so funny now that I, have this notion of adulthood and looking back into my childhood.
Mm.
I never knew we were poor.
Mm.
We were definitely poor, but we always had food on the table,
Mm.
right? Lived in this tiny little apartment There were six of us in a probably 600 square foot apartment, two bedrooms. My brothers and I slept in the same room, and there we are. I never knew we were poor. And as an adult, I've gone through some tough times. I was a single parent for a good spell, and me and my two boys, it's like eating ramen noodles and trying to figure out. And so I found myself just kind of coming around and realizing what my parents and grandparents and the struggles they went through because I was going through the same struggles, but also building upon that and understanding that there's a certain amount of joy that you can bring, especially to young people. We couldn't afford a Christmas tree one time, and so I still have it. We cut out paper and made a paper Christmas tree. Made paper decorations, and I still have it. And the kids who are now 27 and 23, they still talk about that, right? That time we couldn't afford a Christmas tree. They didn't know that, but here we are doing that. And so this whole notion of going back, 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 and this started before I was born, but I came into the world walking between two worlds. Um, I am two spirit. I am what they say in Hawaii. I'm mahu. I walk the spectrum between male and female. So even though I present biologically as a male, um, you know this well enough, Jerry. I got a lot of feminine energy and spirit in me.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know me, I usually have long hair. I can rock some 4-inch heels and cropped little crop jacket and some nice jewelry, full on makeup. And so I'm a curiosity and an oddity in a world that really insists on a binary of male and female. Um, it hasn't always been easy, let me tell you, especially as a young person. My first sexual encounter was one of violence. I was raped by four men. Um, and I thought that was normal. I thought I deserved that. And I was just shy of 16 years old, right? And so I spent many years with the conditioning that I had to be submissive, that I couldn't assert my own power because people couldn't figure out what I was or who I was. So they had to box me in, and then in order for me to feel like I belonged, I had to fit in those boxes, whether it was this really feminine, effeminate, submissive person, or I had to man up, so to speak. And even then, I wasn't quite good enough, right? And so I found that I was able in my young life to tap into my power in other ways. And it was through what people commonly call drag now, um, but I call it gender illusion. It was always a spiritual practice to me to put on makeup, to do my hair, to wear a dress, and to pad out. Back in the day, I made a beautiful woman. I have to tell you, I still at
You still
59,
look good,
I can
right?
rock it. I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
rock it. But back then, so I did pageants. I did the pageant circuit and all that stuff, and it was through that I really found my power, to really explore the ultra feminine side because I couldn't express that. And people would call me an enchantress and a fierce geisha and all of that. And that's how I came to express my power. It really wasn't until mm, probably my late 40s and into my 50s that I found a happy medium. And that's the person you've come to know. And so I don't have to drag up, which is a lot of work. It takes hours and it's really uncomfortable. So I don't want to do that all that much. But I found that happy medium of wearing a crop coat in a professional setting, or wearing my 4-inch heels, showing up as Kevin. Because when I show up like that, my little false eyelashes, but still present mostly male, when I find that happy medium, that place, that's when I can access my greatest power. And that's where I can be of greatest service. So, what started out as a detriment to me, or that's how society came to see it, I had to find my own way. It took me a minute. I found my own way. And in order for me to be of best service in the world, there it is. There it is. I am so glad that at least in some parts of our society, and I'll speak for us here mostly here in the urban areas of California, that young people who are like me can don't have to go through as much pain.
Hmm.
They can be full. They have role models out there,
Yeah.
right? Who can help and guide their way. I think the other thing around this is being somebody who looks like me, who presents as Asian Pacific Islander and male, especially an effeminate male. And so in the gay world, there was always this moniker. They'd have these little ads for dating and hookups and whatnot, and blah blah blah. I'm this, that, and the other, and they would say no fats, femmes, or Asians.
Hmm.
So, no fat people, no feminine guys, and no Asians. And so it's sort of like we were the lowest of the low.
Hmm.
Asian men are the least desirable, and that's both in gay and straight worlds. And so, coming to terms with my own sense of beauty and sacredness, where it wasn't lifted up by Madison Avenue, or there wasn't like, Latino, there's this sort of machismo type of
Hmm.
thing, or
Hmm.
this Asian men were always kind of relegated to the sidekick, or to the villain, or the this or that. And I had to come and claim that on my own,
Hmm.
and find my way with that. My name, Kevin, is actually not my given name at birth. It is my middle name. And I did a legal name change and a big kind of ceremony of proclamation, as it were, to take Kevin as my primary name. It means handsome. And so, at the age of 25, I said, I don't care what society says, I'm going to claim that. And so every time someone calls me Kevin, addresses me by my name, they're saying, "Hey, handsome." And so that's my little,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
my own little secret
Hmm.
to claim
Hmm.
my own sense of beauty and sacredness in this world.
Yeah. You know, wow, thank you for sharing that. Because that journey that you took, that the sacrifice and the woundedness that you had to take on, that propelled you to find that way, and you're right, it has made a way for so many others, so that they're younger people that can acknowledge themselves the way they are, their whole selves in the whole spectrum, and they do have role models and elders like you that they can come to, because life is not easy, and it's not today. We know the struggle still that our Asian relatives struggle with, and the hate, but also our LGBTQ relatives still struggle with, and the hate, and so to hear you talk about that transformation, and I'll call you Kevin, but I'll also call you handsome straight up, because you're a good looking person to me, and your medicine is beautiful. When I sit with you, Kevin, I know there's beauty. I feel the beauty. I feel the healing. I feel the love, you know. And I just want to acknowledge you for not giving up on that journey, because the work that you do, and I've been with you in places and in circles, and I see you make that soup. I see you transform people's hurt into something sacred and something beautiful. And so your ancestors' gifts, are coming all the way through you. And I know it's informed, the work that you do, but who you are as well. And I want, the audience to hear a little bit about that work, because like the soup, you have a lot of different ingredients. So you're working in a lot of different places, but it's all around that same sacred purpose. That sacred purpose of really healing and harmony and interconnectedness and all that. So share with us a little bit about that.
My work is the work, and I'll talk about that in a minute. It's really, my work is about honoring the lineage of my ancestors,
Mm.
both familial and or biological and chosen, and standing on their shoulders and continuing their work. So I think about Grace Lee Boggs
Mm.
and the way that she would always greet somebody and ask them, "What time is it on the clock of the world?" So she was 80 years old, 75 years old when I met her. She didn't have time for niceties. So I would say, "Grace, meet my friend Maestro Jerry." And she would say, "Jerry, What time is it on the clock of the world? And what are you doing to make a difference for good?
Mm.
No, like, hey, how are you? Where are you from? None of that, right? And so Grace instilled in me this sense of urgency, this sense of imagining and reimagining the world as it could be, as it will be. And
Mm.
let's get to work on that.
Mm.
From Auntie Puanani Burgess, she gave me the gift of really understanding kuleana. What is your gift? And for me to ask people constantly, what is your gift?
Mm.
And what can we do to make sure you're manifesting your gift each and every day? From my own Kumuhula, Robert Casimiro, he taught me always to go to the source, Nane Kikumu, to understand that my lineage will give me the strength and will always remind me of my inherent right to express myself in my full and complete humanity. Kumu Robert always says, this is the lineage you come from. And Kev, you do you
Mm.
because you've got enough of me, your Kumu, right? And his Kumu, and Timaiki in you to go ahead and do you.
Mm.
Um, from John Powell, I learned about othering and belonging and building short bridges. From, Susan Glisson and Charles Tucker, it's about turning to wonder. Miss Jackie Martin, she always says we only have the capacity to love ourselves into healing, and that's what will allow us to change the world. So how do
Mm.
you love yourself into healing first,
Wow.
right? And of course, from you always bless me up. Say, you are sacred, Kevin. You are a blessing. And when I feel at my lowest of lows, I turn on your podcast,
Mm.
even if it's for that first 2 minutes where you're blessing me up. And
Mm.
that's good enough for me,
Mm.
right? And so standing on those shoulders, standing on the shoulders of, I came of age in the AIDS generation.
Mhm.
I was 23 years old, living in San Francisco, the epicenter, and gay, trying to navigate through this, and people were given death sentences.
Mhm.
And so, by day I worked at a clinic and I ran this clinical program for people with AIDS, and working at sex clubs at night and handing out condoms and giving outreach and out on the streets and taking care of friends and loved ones. I stopped counting at 175,
Mm.
caring for, fighting for, grieving for all these friends who had passed.
Yeah.
And it is, yeah, I mean, so many lives cut short, so much potential there. And with each person, it was like going back to that sacred fire, right? I'm the weaver of the sacred fire. So it was another thread. Bruce Bunger dies. Tom Cuthbert Sim dies. Scott Kalila Okala Galuteria dies, right? Douglas Hokuakalani dies. Wong dies. It's that. And then another thread is added to my tapestry. So I had to live out that another destiny,
Mm.
another life, another set of potentials. So that calling to me is so very, very important, to stand on these shoulders. It's a burden and it's also a great privilege,
Mm.
right? So, it manifests in my work these days. I mean, I spent 10 years in HIV and AIDS, and quite literally, I burnt out.
Mm.
And so I transitioned into some other work, still around healthcare. But I would say of late, Auntie Pua sat down with me about 5 years ago and she said, what do you tell people, when they say, what do you do, Kevin? What do you tell them? And I said, I usually say I'm an independent consultant that does organizational development and leadership, organizational design and leadership development. And she said, okay, write that out. So I wrote independent consultant, organizational design, leadership development. And she started crossing out every single word. Independent. You're not independent. You're dependent on a lot of people and interdependent.
Mm.
So you're not in this alone. Consultant. I don't know what that means. So we just crossed that out. And then on and on. And pretty soon, Jerry, I had no title. It was like it was all crossed out. I said, so, all right, Pua. So what do you think I do? And she said, this is what you do. You are a cultural translator and community healing practitioner.
Mm.
Cultural translator and community healing practitioner. She gave me a new title.
Mm.
And so when people ask me nowadays, what do I do? That's how I answer them. Not because it's something I gave myself, but because something that my elder, my
Yes.
mentor blessed me with.
Yes.
So I feel like I can go out there. And it looks different in different scenarios and situations. You know, I'm the founder of a thing called the Kahakule Institute. I just founded it this fall, transitioned from another entity that I had held for 10 years. And the Kahakule Institute is a reflection of who I am and who I'm meant to be. I'm going to be 60 in a couple of months. And when I went to ask some of my elders, including you, what should I be focusing on? To a person, it was, Kevin, now's the chapter in your life to focus on legacy. You've been spending, you know, some time in your life learning and growing. What are you going to leave behind?
mm,
Think about yourself as a future ancestor.
mm,
So this institute is part of that. The work that's emerging is my work doing healing circles and really kind of seeing what that looks like to integrate and embed healing circles in our society. And I can talk a little bit about our vision if you're interested. And the other piece of my work, which you're probably less familiar with, is my work with the five elements. It's the East Asian theory of water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, and how they interact with each other in harmonious and disruptive ways. And I've developed a system or a theory by which I can assist individuals or groups, families, organizations, communities by bringing in this notion of the five elements. So I might come into a family and there's a lot of fire, too much fire going on, right? They're just all after each other and a lot of heat, a lot of energy, a lot of passion there. And I, through a few words or through changing out the formation or just, changing out the color, can bring in water just to
mm,
cool things down
mm,
just enough to get it back down to a simmer, and then water feeds wood, wood feels fire, and then infuse some wood. And
mm,
so we're back on a place of being generative, being constructive, being supportive. So there's not so much fire, but we're adequately feeding that fire again through words, through food, even, right? Through color, through formation, through bringing the right people in, through asking the right questions.
mm,
Um, that's something that is it's a little bit stealth in how I use it right now, but I'm hoping to bring it into the light. You know, I wrote a book, and maybe it'll get published. I don't know, something. But I want to be able to understand what the legacy is around that. I've lost some teachers and mentors over the last years, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing, oh, I'm the one left,
mm,
right? I'm the next in line. And so I better get my act together and start passing these lessons on.
mm.
Um, Suddenly I become the teacher.
Yeah. Well, you know, in our tradition, there's this circle in which you begin in the circle as a participant, like a young child, like a baby, you know, and everybody's taking care of you and instructing you and telling you, and then all of a sudden you become a student. You become aware that the teachings are going on, and as a student, you have to decide, well, do I take these on or do I create my own? And then you become a teacher because now you've incorporated some teachings. But that fourth circle is teacher of teachers. And I would present to you that you are in that fourth circle of teacher of teachers, because not only your example, but you're being able to explain and share and leave that legacy so that others can carry on those teachings that are generations old, you know. And you know, I see it and I feel it in you, and I feel honored and happy that we're doing work together, that we are able to dance together, to eat together, to laugh together, to do so much. We're in this process right now, just for people in the audience, talking about healing practitioners, and really in that sense of really bringing more healing to communities, you know, throughout the world. And we're so blessed to have, you know, a whole circle of wisdom keepers that are connected to us, and many of them have been on this podcast, and the rest will be on soon. But you know, one of the things that you talked a little bit about, Kevin, but I would want to invite you just to share a little bit more. Is I know that you talked about your kumu and the whole aspect of hula, and your dance and the medicine, and I'm wondering if you could, because that's I see your movement, I feel your movement, and I wonder if you could share one teaching that comes from that journey, that right now presents itself to you, because I see you as a song. I see you as a rhythm. I see you as really that beautiful movement of your ancestors. So just want to ask if you would share something from that.
There's two pieces of wisdom that are coming up for me right now. One is to trust your body.
Mm,
Your body does not lie. So it knows what it needs in terms of, staying hydrated, getting enough sleep, eating well,
mm,
going for walks, right? What the extent of your capacity to move or not move is. One of the beautiful things about hula is you can dance hula whether you're 5 or 95,
mm,
right? With other forms of dance, ballet, for instance, you only got this certain window, right?
mhm,
And then you're kind of done. With hula, I have seen the most beautiful hulas done seated with a kupuna, with an auntie just moving her arms in the slightest way,
mm,
because that is all she can do. Gorgeous, stunning, right? And so this whole notion of trusting your body is a big one for me, to know that it's been a while since I've actually danced. I haven't been back home to Hawaii in uh, March 14th, 2020. So it's going almost on
mm,
2 years since I've
mhm,
actually danced with my brothers. And I miss it terribly. And I also know it's right here in my blood memory. It is right there under the surface. And so when I connect with my Kumor, my hula brothers, when I see them dancing, I can just join in right here. Like I'm seated and I just automatically do that, right? And when I get back into halau, into the studio with them, it's not going to take long to get back in the rhythm,
mm,
which leads me to my second. It's this finding your halal, finding your community. I am privileged to be a part of Halal Nakamale o Lililehua, which is an all male halal. And so to be in the presence of men dancing
mm,
together,
mm,
when I cross that threshold into the studio and we chant together and we eat together, because it's not just about dancing, right? It's
mhm,
about all that we do. When we go out and forage together, that is part of the practice of being in halal, being in community. Dance is but a part of that. It's about being in the collective body. So finding your community, finding your people, finding those who unapologetically affirm your humanity
mm.
is is a lesson that I've learned from hula.
Wow. Then that's a lifelong journey, because we've been through some tough times in this last 2 years where we haven't been able to gather and haven't been able to connect with each other that way. So figuring out how to do this remotely and sometimes not in the same place has been, a big challenge, along the way. But we find that sense, and the ancestors have given us the strength and the wisdom to be able to cultivate that. As, you mentioned the aspect of legacy. That's a really important part of our journey, and mentioned that's part of where you're at right now, in that legacy. And you said so many profound things already and shared so many teachings. But I want to give you the opportunity as we close out today, um, to share anything else that you'd like to pass on to that next generation, to the younger people that are coming up, or others that are just listening that need to hear words of healing and transformation. What would you offer them? What would you suggest to them? What do you bless them up with as we finish today, and as we move on? What's that legacy?
What I would offer to folks who are listening out there is to find elders, teachers, mentors, guides who have attained something in their lives that you want to have, whether it's they figured out their spiritual life, or they figured out how to balance out holding relationships and families with community service, or they're making good money doing good work in the world. It's like you see people out there say, "Yeah, I want what they got."
Hmm.
Ask them to be your mentor and hold on to them for as long as you can. About 25 years ago, I was a young father, unemployed, and, didn't know my way. I just moved up to Seattle and didn't know a soul, didn't know what I was going to do for work, how I was going to parent, mostly as a single person. And I started asking people, mostly women,
mm,
can you give me some advice? Can you give me some help? And these were really busy people, running national organizations, and they got kids their own, and taking care of parents, and, doing things that women do so quietly and so steadfastly and so fiercely. And to a person, they said, Kevin, I'm so glad you called me because I've been watching you and I've been watching you flounder.
mm,
And I've been wanting to reach out, but I know you're proud, you know? And so I'm so glad you asked me to help because I am here to help you.
mm,
And those people, 7 people, came together for 2.5 days back in 1997. And they put me in the center and said, Kevin, what are your gifts? And what are you going to do with them? And how are we going to manifest that? How can we help you? You need money, we'll give you a job. You need this, we'll give you that. And they floated me for 2 years till I got on my feet. I
mm,
figured out what I was doing, and they set me on this path where 25 years later, here I am. Here I
mm,
am, y'all, right? If it weren't for those 2.5 days with my elders, I would not be right here talking to you. So find those elders and hold on to them. I'm still hanging on to them 25 years later, believe
mm.
it or not,
Yeah.
and they are still an active part of my life. As I said earlier, find your peers, those who unapologetically affirm your humanity. I've
Mm,
got so many dear friends out there, and I don't let them go. I'm running circles all the time. We do second Tuesday, third Friday, fourth Wednesday. They're not going very far, and they say, Kevin, why you do all these circles? It's so nice of you. It's like, I'm not being nice. I'm being selfish. I need you in my life.
yeah.
Um, Trust your body, as I talked about before. Your body doesn't lie, and the last thing I say, and it's probably the most important, is to embrace what I call enchanted time. I wrote a book, a novel, a long time ago, never got published. It's just sitting on a shelf. But it's about my journey and my story through the age years. A young man, Keola Wong, coming up at a time when he didn't know who he was and what he was, but facing death all around him. And this is the quotation at the beginning of the book. It says this: our culture has 2 times. There's regular time, it ticks by. Then there is another time. Artists drift into it when they work, lovers when they love, martyrs when they make their decision to die. It is a time of enchantment. It too is real, maybe even more real, because it is saturated with eternity. Most of the time, enchanted time comes at the expense of real time. But in some ways, it doesn't seem to matter. Because if in the end people can love with an open heart, lives are redeemed, even short ones.
Wow.
So that's what I live by, Jerry,
Mm,
because I've lost all these friends.
yeah.
And, I look around and I call out to Scotta or Doug or to Gerard, right? Or to Tom, and they're not there. It's
Mm,
just me.
mm,
And if I don't continue to redeem enchantment, to redeem their lives, they're going to be lost and forgotten.
yeah.
And so within that, I ask, surround your life with something beautiful, some blue sky moment every single day.
Mm,
Bring enchantment back into your mundane world, right? Your real time world. We're so caught up in these Zooms and these but sometimes all it does, you just take a breath and you look up and you see the sky, you see a sunset,
mm,
or you see that flowering tree, or you get a hug from a child or an elder, right? A kind gesture. That's all it takes to make it worthwhile and to
mm,
really know that that's where it is. And the last thing I'll say is, to my friends out there who are walking the path of being queer, of being gender nonconforming, you're on the right path.
mm,
You are the ones that are going to heal and save this world because you're walking the in-between times. It's not about being man or woman or straight or gay or black or white or any of those things. We understand what it means to weave these different threads together to build those bridges. And I think our job is to find that intersection, that simultaneity, if it were, in everyone and everything, to call that out and call that forth. So it's not, this or that, but it's this and that. And there's beauty and magic and healing in that. I'm coming to find that that's who I am and what my contribution is, however and wherever it shows up.
Wow. Love with an open heart, and so much more. Kevin, it is an honor to know you and to walk with you and to, and just to be with you, learn from you and share teachings that way. I know your ancestors are proud. And I am proud to say that you're my brother, you're my friend, you're somebody that I love, and we do work together, but we walk together in so many ways. And I just want to acknowledge you for your sacrifice, for your perseverance, and that you lead with love in spite of everything. And I'm one of those that will continue to walk with you. You know, and if you want to publish that book, let's do it. I say it right here in this podcast in front of everyone. I'm willing to help you do that. Whatever is going to get these teachings and your words and your wisdom and your love out to others that need, that need that. We're in a transitional time right now, and we need that love. So thank you so much for who you are, for your ancestors, for what you do, and but more than anything, for being just a great friend, being a great, collaborator in this work. And thank you for agreeing to be on this podcast and share your teachings and wisdom, with us all that way. As we close up this circle for today, I'd like to invite all of you to take a moment, before you transition to something else, just to feel the teachings and the love and the energy of Kevin Fong, and what has come through. What has the ancestors said to you? What reverberated in your body and your spirit, that affirms that sense of sacredness in you? But what did it also tell you that you need to do more of, or to do less of, in order that this world can feel that unconditional love? I want to thank you for joining us today, and invite you to share, feedback and share reflections, and share the podcast with others. As in closing, I want to just send an acknowledgement out, Kevin, to your mom, because I know she listens, and I want to thank her and your dad specifically. I've been able to meet them virtually, but I just want to say to them, thank you. You've done a great job, you know, because you've given us a gift of your son that is carrying on a legacy, and the blessings and the healing of so many generations. So I say to all of you, give that gratitude to those people that have contributed to your life. Reach out to those that you need support with, and then pass it on. Give it to others. We want to thank you, thank the ancestors, thank a creator. And as we, continue this way, and remember, en la quech, tú eres mi otro yo, you are my other me. And we are interconnected this way, and that's the way that we'll heal the world. Thank you very, very much, and have a very, very blessed rest of your day. Blessed.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.